National Fire Radio.
This episode's brought to you by Notorious Fire Company. Firefighter owned and operated, Notorious Fire Company manufactures and creates quirky and unique items for the fire service. Whether it's your stainless steel water bottles, tumblers, 4-in-1 koozies, you can decorate your emotional support water bottle with more than 100 different designs they offer so very much. From apparel to swag to stickers, they got you covered. Check them out at notoriousfire.com. That's Notorious, notoriousfire.com. And check them out on social media, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Notorious Fire. And this month with the podcast, if you use coupon code Fire Radio June 2023, that is Fire Radio June 2023, you'll get free shipping on all orders within the U.S. So check them out, notoriousfire.com. Lenny and the crew, they're making great stuff, and I have to tell you, with the summer upon us, the sticker packs are out of control. You got everything from Star Wars to pinups and everything in between. Slap them on your beer fridges, your coolers, and your tumblers, and celebrate the summer in style with Notorious Fire. A good supporter and longtime friend. We're happy to have him on the podcast with us. Check him out, notoriousfire.com, and coupon code FIRERADIO June 2023 for free shipping all across the U.S.
Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Size Up by National Fire Radio, here with episode 26 on like the hottest day of the year thus far in New Jersey. So I'm really happy I'm inside in my air conditioning, as I know my guest is inside in air conditioning too, because we were just talking about that. But I'm really excited for today's episode because I was able to meet my guest finally at FDIC this year, FDIC 2023. We got to meet kind of face to face, even though I've been following his company and I guess him in a way on social media because he's a big part of his company, but you don't really know he's a big part of his company, which is kind of a cool thing. We had this awesome conversation at FDIC. I know we're going to talk about it, but we had some audio issues and all you see is our lips moving during this great conversation. The thing that's missing today, though, is the amazing beverages he was able to directly provide for us at FDIC. So without further ado, my good friend Randy from Fire Dept Coffee, how are you today, brother?
I'm going to enjoy that beverage here. I'm sorry I can't pass it through the screen to you, but I'm doing good, my friend. How are you?
I am excellent, you know, and when we booked this episode, and I just have a busy week this week, and I'm like, we only had this time to meet and it's the afternoon, and I'm like, I'm going to do a coffee episode and talk about coffee in the afternoon, and I am not going to drink coffee in the afternoon. Like, I've stopped doing that at home. I still do it at the firehouse, but at home I do not drink coffee in the afternoon.
And tell me why. What changed that you can't drink coffee in the afternoon? Because I deal with the same thing.
So it's interesting. So I always drank coffee in the afternoon at the firehouse because coffee's always on at the firehouse, right?
Oh yeah.
And during the pandemic and the lockdown, I found myself drinking copious amounts of coffee. Just between work, what we were dealing with here in the Northeast, my kids, the stress of my wife going to the hospital. And I got to a point where I was like, yo, I'm over like a pot a day. And this can't be good for me. Like, I know this is not good for me to drink this much caffeine in a day. So maybe not right as the pandemic ended, but shortly after I was like, I'm no more coffee in the afternoons unless it's like
yeah. What happened with me, my story's a little different. I hit a certain age, Pip, and it was like, you know, when I first came on the job, I got hired in 2000. And so at 24 years old, coffee was on till midnight, till the new guy, you know, cleaned the coffee pot up for the next day and got it ready, you know?
Okay.
And we would drink all up until then. But now I hit a certain age, it's like, if I'm drinking coffee at supper time, I'm staring at ceiling tiles, man. I just have a hard time going to sleep. And I think it's how much I drink during the day, but I've had to shut her down about 4 p.m. or there's some nights of me wishing I hadn't had that last cup. That's for sure.
I can still pull like the late nighter, like the after dinner cup or like the
How old are you?
After dinner.
Boys can ask each other those questions. How old are you?
Boys are allowed. I am 44. I'll be 45 in a few months.
All right. I just turned 48 in April.
Oh,
and
so
I would
it
say
worked for me then. When did that start? When did the
it's coming, brother. Get ready. Get ready.
So much has changed in my 40s. Like I remember when I turned 30 and I was like, 30 is the new 20 and this is going to be awesome. And I really did. I enjoyed my 30s and everything was great. And
Oh,
so then
yeah.
the 40s came and I'm like, 40 is the new 21. I'm going to do it all over again, just like I did in my 30s. But I have found that's
Oh,
not,
yeah.
that is not.
Your body says, hey, I'm not happy with your behavior right now. You're going to be sore tomorrow. And yeah,
Dude,
it's
and
not.
with all the fitness that I do too. Like I've changed a lot of what I do in my fitness regimen
Right.
because again, my body is just like, no, man, you're not 26 anymore and you can't back squat like that, like you used to.
Yeah,
Lower the weights, lower the volume, change it up a bit.
absolutely. I hear you.
So that crushed you in coffee, and you're the man behind Fire Department Coffee. That's interesting. I figured you just like mainlined it all day, like 24/7.
Being around it all day, and we have access to espresso machines here, so we're doing espresso shots and Americanos, and man, I wasn't into that until I met Luke, who is our CEO. And the story there is, Luke was a young guy at Ladder 5. I work in Rockford, Illinois. We're about an hour west of Chicago.
See, I was going to say Peoria. That's what I thought it was, but it's Rockford. Okay.
Yeah,
Illinois
Rockford.
Somewhere.
Yeah, about an hour west of Chicago. We're kind of the city in the middle of nowhere, 150,000 people. And, we have our challenges in the city. 11 firehouses, running 32,000 runs a year, doing all the EMS and fire for the city. When I came on as the same 11 firehouses, we were doing 16,000. So we've doubled our runs, kept the same number of houses, went down in manpower, like a lot of our brothers and sisters that are going to watch this or at least can relate to, doing more with less. But I meet Luke at Ladder 5, and there's this young kid who's got this coffee thing going, and he's grinding, and he just has a great personality. He's an inspiring young kid. And I just said, hey, I see you getting busy around the holidays. And this is probably 2017 or maybe 2018. He started in 2016. I can see it growing. I said, if you need help shipping around the holidays or when you get busy, get a hold of me. I'd love to come help you out, learn. And he took me up on it. And first couple holiday seasons, we got really busy, and then he'd lay me off in like March. He's like, hey man, I just don't have the orders. And I said, no problem. This is perfect. It's a fun little gig. And then that third holiday season, probably 2019, something like that. He's like, hey, no more laying you off. I need you. Yeah. He's like, I got a different role for you. I started, shipping and in production, and it's just kind of my nature. I would notice like inefficiencies, like why are we touching this 4 times? Let me help develop a plan that makes us more efficient. Firefighter stuff. It's the guys at the station, it's just the way we're wired. And so he noticed that and said, I got a bigger role for you if you want to take it on. And I said, let me think about it. I don't know if I want another, real, job other than the firehouse. And now I've got, it's, 4.5 years later, I've got 2 full-time jobs and don't have time to do anything else, but I love it. It's been amazing. So
that is awesome. When Luke started too, because I love these stories, especially the origin stories. Like I'll use a normal term that my kids use all the time. Well, his origin story. I'm like, I don't really care, but tell me anyway. But when it comes to small businesses, was he out doing like what you see so many like I grind my own coffees at like pop-up shops or at farmers markets and things. So did he kind of start that route in the beginning?
Yeah. And he started with, his wife, Kate, was a barista. And so they met and fell in love over coffee. And so she started teaching him, and he became very interested, and then started doing some small roasting, like tabletop roasting, just for family and friends. And then it just kind of grew. It was as organic a start as there is. It really is. And that's what's unique about, to get off on another tangent a little bit, when somebody's gone from there to where he is now, you've learned every easy lesson and every hard lesson you could ever learn when that's been your baby and you've grown it. And so there's really, you can't fake that, right? He's had tough lessons and stuff has worked well. And between the mix of that, he stayed true to the mission. And that's what's fun about working here, man, is that he says, we're going to provide a good product. We're going to provide as good a customer service as we can possibly do. And we're just going to give back to to first responders, who we are. We're going to stay true to that mission. But I think part of that is his roots as a vet. He's a Navy veteran. A lot of people know that. And it's just that veteran mindset of, this is the mission. This is what we're going to do for it. Try not to vary from it. If it works, it works. And it'll all meet in the end. And we've been blessed with amazing support, amazing customers, and just really cool opportunities that allow us to do what we do. So
it's so cool too, because I figured you guys were around longer. I don't know. I guess just my timeline of how everything works is always messed up.
A lot of people say that. It's been a rocket ship, man. I think we're close to 4,000 retailers now, and we started just small batch roasting for local fire departments in 2016.
And there's so many companies out there, and not just fire department owned, but especially in the coffee industry, where you see them appear on social media and then just as fast they may disappear. And you guys were able to really take that and level up,
Yeah, it's so competitive, and I'm going to tell people there's a lot of good coffee choices out there. And if you like coffee, I would challenge you to find a coffee that you like. Find a small batch roaster. You go down that coffee aisle in a grocery store now, it's mind boggling. It wasn't that way. It wasn't that way 10 years ago.
Folgers, and then Pete's appeared.
Yes.
And
yes.
Maybe one other one, but that was it.
Maybe a Maxwell House in there, whatever it was. But the big difference is freshness. When you can get that coffee and it hasn't been out of the roaster very long by the time it gets to the store shelves, and especially if you are, grind your own whole bean coffee, that's the best way to keep it fresh is buy whole bean. Try that. I challenge people, try that and see what the difference is from what you're buying and what you like. There's a lot of good choices where I think ours stands up to anybody else's. Obviously, I'm a little biased, but I really believe it does, because we taste. It's not like I'm not touching anybody else's coffee. You got to taste your competition. And if you're a coffee lover, go try. Try stuff. But Luke's turned me into a coffee nerd. So
it's crazy too, that like coffee culture, like you said, like his wife was a barista and they met and they fell in love over coffee. I mean, So I started in EMS like a really long time ago and was not drinking coffee. I was really young when I started, and I went to the night shift and was still like, I'm not going to drink coffee. And then I don't know what happened, but like my first cup of like middle of the night dispatcher coffee was like, put as much sugar and cream in this French vanilla coffee from a popular donut company that's local to me, and I'll drink that. And then that's what I would drink. But I wasn't really drinking coffee. I was drinking sugar and cream pretty much.
Yeah, that was a dessert. That was a dessert in a cup.
But, sure, and it kind of got me through those last couple hours to now.
Absolutely.
To now where I'm like, I want it black because I want to taste the coffee. I want to taste the beans.
Yes.
Like I want to taste where my beans came from and kind of know the aroma of it all. And so we're about to get new rookies on my shift. And our last group of rookies, there were 3 of them, and one makes coffee really well. Like there's just whatever he does it right, and I don't care, just doing it. And he's like, well, what if these new guys don't make coffee as good as me? And I'm like, well, you need to teach them to make coffee as good as me, or you're going to keep making it. You're not going to change.
Yeah, that's your choices.
We've kind of upgraded our coffee a little bit in my house on my shift, but we're still not at a high level. Let's say we're at like a one step up from that store-bought stuff to a better store-bought stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So many firehouse. I just like to be involved with this company and to know that, because I see where we ship to. I see how many firehouses we ship to all over the country. And in fact, we're shipping internationally now. So I see where it goes. I see the 5-pound large quantities go to some departments that have like a kitty that distributes. Maybe the city buys their coffee and then it goes out to, I'll see 30 bags go to this city, to this one station, they divide it up. And to think, because you know the deal, so many firehouse problems and discussions and life issues and all the things we deal with at the station or at home are discussed, solved, and fixed, around that cup of coffee in the morning at a fire station table. And to know that our coffee is at some of those stations somewhere, part of that, that's a big deal to me. I talk about that all the time, that those those conversations and problems are getting discussed around one of our coffees, that's amazing. That's amazing to me if it is, because I know what talk goes on at my station in the morning.
Exactly. We're solving all the world's problems over that cup of coffee,
Yeah,
without
absolutely.
a doubt in your mind. Like,
Yep.
and even if it's crazy because, because of technology, my department just got dispatched on a structure fire. And I'm thinking, like, when I come back, even on a hot day like today, I'll come back from the fire and the first thing I'm going to do is grab a cup of coffee, like regardless of anything, even if I've had one.
Absolutely.
Just like part of my like ritual before I go take a shower for my friends at Flame Decon. I've already used wipes on the scene, and then I'm going to have a cup of coffee, and then I'm going to take a shower. Let's get it all out there now. But that's such an important part. And I think, we do a full recall in my department because we're 3 stations. So we recall an entire shift in if there's a fire. And the early arriving officers and firefighters are upstairs trying to make sure they're getting people staffed. But one of the first jobs a firefighter has once they get their stuff on the rig is get a pot of coffee going. Go in the shift's locker who's working today, use their coffee because it's their fire and they're going to feed everyone else now, and get that pot of coffee going. So it's such an important part of our lifeblood,
It is. It really is. It is.
And we were fortunate, like I was mentioning at FDIC, where we met, Randy, again, I think I've said this because I've had so many guests from FDIC still going on the show, but it is a zoo of people. And Randy was gracious enough to not only leave his booth, which I doubt he did very often at FDIC, but he brought us over a carafe of his coffee and sat down with Rob and I and talked for about 10 or 15 minutes. And it was just a great talk while we were enjoying, I think it was the bourbon infused, right? Was it infused coffee?
Yeah, I think it was vanilla bean bourbon. I think I brought over my favorite spirit infused.
Oh,
and that's that same thing I was just talking about. You had so many cool guests, and people are gathered around watching, and you guys are talking shop and solving problems. And so if my coffee's in there, I love it. I love it. And the thing was, when we sat down, it was just so easy to talk. You guys have a great show. You have a great way about broaching the subjects. And so, man, you and I think we could have talked for 2.5 hours that day if we had the time.
Easily.
But it's just such easy conversation. So honored that you would invite me to do this. Absolutely honored. And I couldn't wait until we did this. So this is awesome.
It's so exciting too, because again, there's like an education level to this coffee thing. So can you kind of walk me and the guests or the listeners here kind of through the process of it all? Because, even how you said Luke's origin story of roasting, and I have done whole bean. And it does taste 100% better. It's just that extra, 4 minutes of my morning or 4 minutes of my night or whatever it takes to do that. I just don't do it as often as I should, let's say. But I don't shy away from whole bean. I also learned a trick too. You could smuggle like your whole beans into like Sam's Club or BJ's and use their roaster and then smuggle them back out. No one even notices.
Use their grinder
in there.
Use their grinder there. Absolutely. Yeah, it's right there by the door. You don't have to go very far in.
You don't even have to go into the store because they have the one in the coffee aisle, but then they have the one that is literally right by the door. So you just kind of walk in, walk past it, maybe use the restroom, walk back out, grind up your coffee, walk right back out. Nobody cares.
Yeah. So, without, talking like I'm plugging anything, just like coffee education, Luke and Jake, our head roaster, he's a Q grader. So Jake's coffee knowledge, he comes up with a lot of our roasts and our blends. I could lay coffees down, single origin coffees from different parts of the world, and he will take a drink of that coffee and tell you what bean that is, what region it was grown in. That's where, so to be around him is amazing because he's teaching me all the time. Every time I'm with Jake, he teaches me something. But, basically you're looking at, how does everybody have a medium roast coffee or a dark roast coffee, right? Everybody has, there's millions of them. It's basically the blend of the beans. You either have blends or you have single origins. So in that bag, when I say a blend, it could be beans from this country, and this country at, let's say, Honduras, Brazil, Nicaragua, and they could be at certain ratios, right? So many of this bean, so percentage of this. And then it's your roasting profiles, like how you roast it, length of time, temperature, how you cool it. And then that's presents that flavor, your recipe and then how you cook it really. And then your single origin coffees, like for instance, we have a coffee of the month club for people that like single origin beans. So it may be just 100% Nicaraguan or 100% Honduran bean in there. And that's what it is, 100% that coffee, Colombian. And so people are really interested in trying these coffees from all over the world, really. And then the tastes and flavors are from those regions, the soil content in those regions, their weather, the climate, what gives those different beans and the different flavors. And it's fun to experiment and see what, a lot of us all have our go-to coffee that we like, and then just vary a little bit from that, find out what's in that blend, and then try the single origins of that and see if you like it as much. I really like some Mexican coffees. They're just what I like. So we have all these options here, and it's just really opened up my palate to a lot of the different things we can do. I really like, Jake's taught me, by no means am I a barista. I shouldn't even say that word, but he's taught me how to, make real espresso with the right grind and the right pressure. And so much goes into it, pressing that water through those grounds to get that right flavor that's not bitter, that's smooth. If you find somebody that can do a nice espresso shot and you're a coffee lover, go try it. People are afraid sometimes, they like coffee, but I don't know how to do espresso and I don't know what to ask for. Go try it. Try an Americano. Those are easy. And then I love that to see people, a lot of people I talk to will be like, hey, after talking to you, I went and bought a grinder and all I have is whole bean coffee now. My wife's upset because every morning the grinder fires up and it wakes everybody. It sounds like a jet running in the kitchen, but my coffee is amazing, So those are fun stories to hear. But
those are, and Stu, like and how you make it too, like the different, like you're saying, like I have a grinder, I have a French press, I have like a regular coffee machine, I have a drip pour overs,
Chemex or pour,
the Chemex, I have the Chemex. Like, dude, during the pandemic, I was just trying anything I could to just keep, moving forward with everything. And I'm like, well, I may as well try this. And it's cool sometimes to break out the French press because I feel like for me, that is the best cup of coffee I can physically make myself, or like that little elevated level. But there's so many different things that I didn't know about until just recently.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what's fun, for people that are listening that haven't tried some of that stuff, try it. There's million videos and people online showing different methods, and I like a lot of them. I think too,
probably like Luke and Jake, they were just experimenting in their kitchen or at a restaurant that they may have worked at or somewhere as a barista and trying this, and they turned it into an entire business.
Yeah. He came up with, which is really the coffee that built the company. It's what I call it, is our medium roast, the red bag coffee. It looks like the sign behind me. Our medium roast coffee is the coffee that built the company. That's the one that the firehouses in the city here started grabbing on. His family said, that's a good cup of coffee. I like that. And it just started growing and then inspired him to just keep trying different things and come up with some really dark roasts, some, a light roast. And then really the proprietary, the spirit infused coffees, it kind of moved into that where, we take a green coffee bean and infuse it with whatever alcohol we're using at the time, salted caramel, bourbon, vanilla bean bourbon, Irish whiskey. And then during the roast, the alcohol cooks off very much like cooking with wine. The alcohol cooks off during the heat of the roast, but those notes of the bourbons or whiskeys or whatever that spirit is stay in that cup of coffee. People get a little bit, if they haven't tried that, they're looking at that label, spirit infused. This Irish coffee, I don't want to taste like a shot of, Jameson necessarily. They might not like that. I mean, I like that, but they might not. And it's like, no, it's really subtle. You can smell it. It fills the kitchen with the aroma of that spirit. As you get the cup to your nose, you can taste those aromas, smell them, I should say. And it's subtle. It's really subtle.
And it still tastes like a really good cup of coffee. Like a really good cup of coffee with that. It still tastes like a really good cup of coffee.
Yes.
Just with that aroma that you're saying, which I didn't even figure out until you just said that.
Yeah. Some of the retail, we're just moving into some Kroger stores. I think we posted that on our website. Down south, moving into, I think, I think 200 Kroger stores initially with our spirit infused. So that type of, little fancier, different type of coffee that coffee lovers are looking for to try different things, it's becoming popular. So they picked us up in those stores, and we hope that just keeps growing. We think it is. We think it's
awesome
going to just keep growing.
Because again, in that coffee culture, you guys have grown out of the fire department culture and are bringing our culture into like coffee snobs, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, and we get that a lot of times, with our name, with Fire Department Coffee. People are like, "You're really firemen?" Yeah, there's a ton of us. There is a ton of us that are either full-time career or some volunteer. Some like me have been both. I did 6 years as a volunteer fireman. I joined our department in my little town as a senior in high school. And at 24, I got hired by Rockford Fire. I just fell in love with that job and thought, man, if I can make this a career somehow. I was that kid, Pip, that didn't know what he was going to do. Gotcha. To go off on another little tangent, but
these are so we are still want to hear.
We're still a ton of firefighters that run the company, and paramedics and veterans. We have a ton of veterans on staff too. So it's legit. It's as legit as we can possibly be, and we'll stay true to those roots. It's how we built it, and it's what works. But so anyway, back to that kid. I was that kid as a senior, didn't know what I was going to do. I got recruited to play some D3 football at some schools around. My dad worked in a factory. I didn't know we were poor growing up. I didn't feel that. But as I look back at now as an adult, we were
differently. Yep.
Yeah, you realize what my father and mother were trying to do on an income that they were with 2 kids and a house payment, in a small town. I was a C- student, so they wanted me to come play football at these private D3s that were at that time $40,000 a year. My dad couldn't afford that. And D3s, I wasn't going to get any scholarship money. It was going to be academic grants, right? It's funny how that works, because the better athlete you are, the bigger your academic grants are, but we can't give you any money for sports, right?
It's not for sport, for your academics.
So yeah. So this buddy of mine says to me, we're seniors, and he says, hey, the fire department in town, the volunteer department, I'm in a town of 3,000 in a rural area in northern Illinois, and he says they're really hurting. I'm going to join. He knew he was going to be he was talking about fire trucks when we were 9 years old, nonstop. So he took me and another kid, and I said, Dad, sounds great. He said, I think they're going to let us leave school to go on calls. And I'm like, well, you got me now. Now I'm locked in. I can leave to go on calls, whatever it is, I'll sign up. So we go down to the principal's office the day we're going to pitch this. And Mr. Marshall, rest his soul, he passed away a few years ago, but I spoke to his wife about this when he was sick. And I told him when he was still alive. But he gets up and he closes his door. And he says, no, what do you guys want to talk to me about? And our spokesman, Rob Huff, says, hey, we want to join the volunteer fire department in town, and we'd like to be able to leave school and go help if you would allow us to do that. And he looked at us, and this is back in the day, Pitt, guys our age know, but back in the day, a teacher might grab a hold of you or might have a stern word.
There could be. There could be.
And he said to us, he said, there's no more honorable duty than your civic duty to your community. But if I catch you guys jacking around after those calls and not coming back to class, there'll be hell to pay, And he was a guy that was serious like that. And so he gave us that push toward it. We joined, started going to drills. Obviously, we would go up to the station when the guys were on calls, and we would sweep the bays out and empty the trash. That's what we did. Now we started going to night drills. And after 6 or 8 months, when we knew just enough to get us in trouble, we could go on calls, and the old guys would keep us safe and under their wings. We weren't doing anything. It was a good department to learn on. But at the end of this story, I end up Rockford Fire, full-time fire department. I'm in my 24th year there. I've held multiple titles here. I love it. Rob Huff is the chief in that town that we joined when we were 18. And Jason Clark, the other person next to me, is a sheriff's detective in the county that we still all live in, and where that department started. So Mr. Marshall had a huge effect on the 3 young men to explore a career in public service, and it changed all our lives. That one moment in his office,
Which is so
I wasn't going in here. Yeah.
You didn't go
But
into his office for that life-changing moment. You went in that office
no,
to get out of class. Like,
no.
and he provided you with the tools you needed for that life-changing moment. And he gave you just enough. It's kind of like they say, like enough rope to hang yourself with in a way, but just enough push to be like, you can do this, but be serious about it. And
Yep.
those are the type of mentors that I feel like in life everyone needs, and they need to continue to have them throughout their lives.
And once we're exposed to those, Pip, now I feel like it's our job to when you have those people in your life. I've been around you enough and talked to you enough to know that. Once I have that experience, now we are the stewards of that, and to pass it on and to not skip those moments that we have to impact someone. And what's funny about that is I talk about it quite a bit in different roles that I'm in, but it's not my job to determine whether they get that the way I'm, trying to give it to them. It's I continue to give it every opportunity I can, and how they receive it is on them. It can't be on me.
Yeah.
Can't force somebody to receive it. And I don't know when it's going to happen. Might not be this time, might not be the next time, but one of those times we're going to reach somebody. And I think it's just our role in this career that we have. When we take that oath before God and man to serve, I don't believe it just means when we have our uniform on. And obviously, because we're in these roles now, still doing that, we feel that way. Not everybody has to feel that way. That's okay. But I think it's my role to serve some way, not just when we have our uniform on. At all those opportunities.
It's a better way to live your life, and again, like you said, you're not out there prophesizing or soapboxing this. It's when you have that moment to be able to do that, just again, like Mr. Marshall did. And it's crazy because you're telling that story, and I could see you guys walking out of there like high-fiving, like, yes,
yes.
Go to the firehouse.
Oh,
like,
yes.
I wish I had that idea when I was in high school. Like, I wish I could have figured out a way to get that to happen. But it makes me think, so my older son, Finn, is 13. He's going into 8th grade. Where we are, they do middle school that starts at 5th grade. And it's crazy. I did not plan on bringing up the pandemic this many times in this episode, but his 4th to 5th grade year was that pandemic year. And we went to the middle school for his orientation, and there's a female principal and a male vice principal. And the male vice principal spoke. They both spoke, but when the male vice, he does more of the disciplining, I believe. He's a bit hardcore, as we've learned since in our time at the middle school, because now Finn's in 8th grade. But he said, I want to be all of your friends. So let's be friends together and stay like on my good side, kind of. Like, let's not be friends. We're starting out as friends today. Let's continue to be friends. So when you leave here, we're friends. And I remember asking Finn, I was like, Finn, did you get what he was saying that day at orientation? And he's like, yeah, don't mess around. Like, don't be stupid. He's gonna lay down the hammer if you're stupid. He wants you to be his friend, not. And it's those kind of lessons that Finn still takes. And now he's telling my younger son is going to that school in 5th grade. And I just don't see the two of them having the same relationship as his older brother did.
That's amazing that two kids can be so. I have the same thing, Yeah, I have 2 daughters, and they are just. I went into that, and maybe you did the same thing. You bring that up, but I think that's funny. I had my kids, and I thought, okay, I'm just going to raise them exactly the same way. I'm going to discipline them exactly the same way. Everything's going to be, and it's like, oh my word, what a moron. They're two totally different kids. I can't manage either one of them the same. It's like, so it kind of reminds me of I tell about my daughters.
Parenting 101. You're like, kid 2, I did it with kid 1. This will be easy. And you totally forget that when you're parenting kid 2, kid 1 is still there. So now,
yes,
let me deal with you on my leg while I'm holding you, because you can't even hold your head up, but I'm trying to hold your bottom. But the other one's hitting me, biting me. I was like, this is my life now. This is how my life is going.
Yeah, that's it. That's so funny.
It flips back to what you were saying before about learning all those lessons, just like you had said Luke had learned in the coffee business, and sometimes you learn them twice because you don't learn them the first time.
Yep.
But you have to be able to learn that, and you have to be able to move on. Like, nothing is without a challenge, right?
Yeah, he's taught me so much in the business side of, sometimes I'll look at things, why would we do, and then he explains it, and it's like, oh man, I forget this guy's been doing this. He's way better at this than me. He's been doing it so much longer. He eats and lives and breathes this every single day. I just got to trust him. Just trust him, you know.
Did he have more time on the job than you when you started working for him, or was it?
No, there's a funny story there too, Pip. So we're at ladder 5, and I was driving ladder 5 at the time, and I had these young guys underneath me. And so Luke's younger than me and didn't have as much. He retired. He had to retire because the business got so big. So he left about a little year and a half ago. I think he left after 11 years. But I remember taking Luke, you know, I'm the smart guy, you know, on the company, and we're sitting on the bumper of ladder 5, and I'm like, hey, I see your company's growing. I get it. I said, but dude, you got to get to 20 years. You'll have earned, you know, your pension there at 20. You got to get to 20. You're halfway there. And I explained to him what that 20 is. You won't collect then at 44, but when you get to 50, you'll have some, you know, something solid to fall back on. No matter what happens with this coffee business, you'll be good to go. You'll have a, you know, way to provide at least housing for the rest of your life, you know. And then after like a year and a half, I grabbed him on the bumper again. I said, hey, remember all that stuff I told you a year and a half ago?
Forget it.
Yeah, I think you can do whatever you want, kid. I think you're in a pretty good spot now, but I appreciate you listening to me. Be free, fly,
Go run.
But,
you can do
but
it.
it was, you know, he took a year of leave of absence, you know, you know how it is being a firefighter, it's in your blood, and he's a vet and a firefighter and started this company, and it all means a lot to him. He's got a big heart, and I see it every day. And so it was hard for him. You know, we had some long discussions. He went on a year leave of absence to see if he really wanted to do this, but it became too much. You know, you're talking, he's got 300 emails a day.
Yeah,
you know, it's just, you can't manage it. He's a family man. He's a great family man. And with Kate and the kids, it was just, something had to go. You know, and families first. This business was so big, you know, the career had to, you know, his second career, I should say, they switched spots, you know,
exactly
is what happened. His part-time gig became his full-time career, and something had to give, you know.
And that gets to a part too, where in our career as firefighters, like if you're not giving 110% every day, that becomes a problem for a lot of reasons, we can just say. And that sounds like Luke knew
really
that.
Does.
Yeah,
it really does. He didn't want it to get that way. You know, I can't devote what I need to when I'm here, you know, it's not something you just want to be half cocked at, you know. I know exactly what you're saying.
It's always that interesting thing too, because I did it when I first got hired. You know, you get paid nothing when you first get hired, and it's still that way, even though it's more. I just actually told our last rookies what my starting salary was, and they were like, how did you live? And I'm like, yeah, exactly. How did I live? We lived. But I hustled, and I still worked EMS, and I still did all that. And then I got comfortable and was like, I don't have to work EMS as much. And I still got bored. So I started still working EMS a lot and then doing other things, because that hustle is kind of real. It's kind of people we all are, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I love that part of the fire service is that, you know, I work with guys who have so much different hustling going on, whether it be, you know, they do roofs, or they work on an ambulance, or they have a podcast, or, you know, you name it, we have it, or they're on a coffee company. You know, it's so cool to be able to see all those different things all while still being a firefighter. Yep.
Same thing, you know, plumbers, electricians, guys I've used, drywallers. Had a guy frame my basement up for me. I was the roof guy. I did roofs for several years. That's the worst guy to be. Don't be the roof guy.
No. I don't want to go on roofs. I don't want to go on my own. I don't want to go on roofs when I ride on a truck, and I don't want to go on roofs ever if I don't have to.
Yeah.
Like a thing.
I picked the one trade growing up that you would never want to do. You don't want to do it. You know, I barely wanted to do it then. Why did, you know, I could do that at 48 years old.
It's funny because coming from EMS, like I'm the EMS guy in my department. Like, you know, I became a paramedic, so that was another thing. But my wife is a physician assistant, so we're literally like the fire department. You know, like emergency call. I was like, your copay will be $10. Like I got a guy in my shift. I think he owes me at least $100 in copay by this point. Like,
we pay my mess every day. Yeah.
Like, I'm like, whenever the phone rings, I'm like, who's hurt and what do you need? Like, if it's FaceTiming, I usually know that means he's going right to the emergency room. I'm like, just get in the car, take the kid to the ER because I can't fix this via a FaceTime. Yep. But you have those different things. And I love that part of the fire service, you know, just that growth. And I feel like and correct me if I'm wrong, but fire department coffee is sort of run like a firehouse in a way.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. So I'm considered an executive in the company. My title, I tell everybody, director of brand relations.
It's fancy.
That's what's on my business card. That's fancy.
I like it.
But
fancy.
guess what? That guy that prints your business cards will put whatever you want on there as long as you pay him, right? So you know what I do? I'm the jack of all trades, whatever needs to be done. We're still a small operation as far as manpower and on site here. Within the last 2 years, we moved, our entire operation was in 3,500 square feet. Now that 3,500 square foot building is just our grocery, and our warehouse and distribution is in 35,000 square feet.
Okay.
So yes, but we're still, as far as number of employees, we're not that big. And so it is like the firehouse. Guess what? When it's time to work, when something has to be done, we'll all get dirty. I'll mop bathrooms, whatever needs to be done, you know. And when you do that, just like at the firehouse, when you do that and your employees see that you're willing to come grind with them or ship packages again when you haven't done it in, 4 years, but you'll try and screw it all up until they tell you, go away, Randy, you're blowing things up, you're screwing us up here.
Definitely F it up. I can guarantee you F it up when you go jumping and do it.
Yeah,
Guarantee.
Yes. Well, this is how I do the old guy. This is how we used to do it.
You wouldn't know what it was like.
Yeah, but it's just like at the station. When your crew sees you leading that way, they're going to step in behind you. And when something like that has to be done, and we help each other out, you can see it. It keeps them working hard. They appreciate it. We're a team.
That's the true team nature of what you see in a business that succeeds, is when everybody's kind of still getting their hands involved in everything when they need to. But it's like you said, you're not going in there and telling them like, no, this is how you ship. Because this is how I used to do it, because it's so different.
Yeah, usually I just get frustrated and I said, do you remember when I used to know how to do this? Do you remember that? And they helped me out. But
I think too, on that small business end, and I just know this from, the 555 end of things when I used to ship things, but what people don't realize is that your shipping is dependent on so many other factors that are out of your control, like the postal service and how their system works, how your internal, whichever e-commerce platform you choose to use for your business, and then they change every week sometimes. So it's always changing.
Oh, yes. I've seen around the holidays is when I start to see really weird things happening. I've seen shipping rates change in the middle of the day so they're adjusting something off peak times. And, it's just like, it's hard to quote shipping. And we're consumers. You and me are consumers. I hate paying shipping. I hate it. So but there's just no way around it. There's no way around it, yeah.
And even that packaging, no one thinks about that. I remember early on with 555, we're like, we're going to do gym bags. And we were all hot and we got them. They all got shipped and we got them screened really well and everything was great. And, we put them for sale and we sold a whole bunch of them. And then I put it on the scale and was like, how did we forget that gym bags weigh more than a t-shirt? So our profit margin just went from
there goes your margins.
Like
there go your margins.
Until we're making literally I'm like, it's like 3 a.m. I'm shipping and cursing at myself the entire time that how did I ruin this by not upping this.
They sold so well, but I didn't make any money on them. But they sold so well.
They sold so well. People are like, do more bags. I'm like, I'm good. We're not doing more bags ever again. No, thank you. It was a great plan. If you have one that's a 555 gym bag like I do, you're an OG because there weren't many of them sold. And that's there's the secret. But it's the same thing with you guys where shipping containers, and what you ship your coffee in and how it keeps it fresh. I mean, I think you've made a few changes in that too, if I remember over time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Packaging is all we're always looking at, and that's the thing. I would, if there's any small business, and I know some of the guys listening to your show that run in their side hustle, and if it involves shipping and packaging, constantly look at how the rates are being fluctuating. One of the best things I can give, without giving too much away, is order something from your competition.
Yeah.
Order something from your competition and see how it's being packaged, see how it's being shipped, see what You know, what box, what package, what container are they using? Is there a way you can cut a cost? You know, it's just that's just good business tactics, right? And see if you can learn something. You know,
it's so funny too, because when we talk business, and it's crazy because we didn't think this would turn into a business podcast, but the Size Up talks a lot of business, it seems.
Yeah.
Like doing, but those are such things that, you know, Coke and Pepsi were tasting each other's product for years, trying to figure out.
Exactly.
Like, you're not doing anything wrong. You're just learning to make the business.
It feels
better.
weird. It feels weird sometimes.
It should feel
packages
weird.
come here. Packages come here. I'm like, you know, looking at it. Who ordered? Oh, this is just research package.
R&D in here. But you do that, and it does feel weird because you're like, man, I don't want to put anybody else out, but I want to learn what they're doing because maybe they're doing something better. And it's even, I think,
when you start thinking you're the only one with good ideas, that's when you're not. None of us are that smart. You know, there's a lot of people with good ideas. See what you can learn from them.
Yeah, I mean, those good ideas are what makes the world go round. And again, at a place like FTIC, it is just like an idea treasure trove. Like,
oh, it is.
Especially when we were sitting up on that doing the morning show with Rob and I for a couple hours, people were throwing ideas and guessed at us so quick that I was like, I can't keep up. My little notepad was like scribbling, and I can't read half the things I wrote because I'm like, I don't know what that guy said.
Yeah.
And we lost that audio. So I'm like, I can't even go back and listen to be like, that guy said something really cool. I know he did because you can see me like, right. But I have no idea what I wrote or what I said or anything like that.
You know what? We should play that and let your audience like ad lib what the words are, like they do on like some of the TikTok videos where they're putting somebody else's words.
Sevi, you didn't hear that. Randy had a bad idea. Don't listen to that.
Yeah. You know what? We shouldn't do that. We wouldn't be able to play it anywhere. I know what it would be. I know what. Forget that. We wouldn't be able to play it. So
it's a really good transition though into something you guys do. I would say hands down better than any other company out there almost, but is your social media and your work with Jason and firefighter Fenton and everybody else on your with these just great videos. So how did that even jump into the play without giving away the secret sauce again?
Oh no. I was watching Jason's stuff years ago when he was speaking with a really bad Australian accent, when he was doing that stuff at the station. And I think that's about the same time that Luke had recognized that Jason was pretty funny and he had this growing audience. And you know, so he reached out. Luke is kind of a visionary in many different ways where he sees something and isn't afraid to reach out. And I think they had a conversation as Jason, you know, how cut and dry he is with everything. He says, you know, Luke calls me up and says, hey, would you mind doing some stuff with my coffee company? And Jason's like, yeah, well, I need to see if your coffee sucks or not before I put my name and face on it, you know? So I think that's probably, knowing Jason and spending as much time as we spend and talk every day, that's probably exactly how it went.
I would say so. I know him well enough to say that.
Yeah. And so that, you know, the relationship was born and that was it. And they started, you know, Luke saw that being a DTC company, pardon me, direct to consumer e-com business, who's responsible for your own marketing? You know, you are. Yeah. Nobody else is. You're not in retail yet. You're not anywhere. So nobody's doing any marketing for you. So how are we going to do it? We started to see, Luke knew that, you know, people are accessing everything and getting all their information like we've seen through their phones. And so I need to build an audience. Maybe I can do it with Jason. He's pretty funny. I like his content. You know, our goal, we're very strategic with everything we do now. We're not going to be that edgy stuff. There's enough edgy stuff out there. Our biggest compliment is when guys come up and say, hey, I watch your stuff. Like at FDIC, you'll get guys and their kids. I can watch my stuff with my kids and we laugh together about firehouse antics. And that's like the biggest compliment you can give me. There's enough. All of us, there's enough edgy stuff out there. We don't have to do that. If I couldn't watch it with my daughters, I wouldn't do it, you know? So
and I think it's the comments that get the edgy stuff. Like they put the edgy stuff out there to get the comments, which gets you the interactions, but you still,
it does,
do that, right? I don't need to do that. We even just talked about it with National Fire Radio recently in a little round table we were having. And I'm like, we were all like, we still don't need to go down that road, you know?
No.
And with Jason, I do love that you said he's pretty funny, because I do agree. He's pretty funny. He's not really funny. He's pretty funny.
I hope he watches it.
I had him on the podcast and I was making I was making the JPEG to promote the podcast, and my Finn is sitting next to me, and he's like, "Yo, Dad, you know that guy? He's hysterical. I watch him online all the time with his funny firefighter jokes." And I'm like, "Oh my God." I was like,
No, it's nuts.
I can't
You ought to
believe
see us trying to travel. We travel a lot together, going to different events and airports, gas stations, grocery stores,
And it's not just firefighters, he's reached out because of the way that he kind of portrays us in his comedic ways, his pretty funny ways. Other people recognize him because he's just so recognizable. It's amazing.
Yeah, he is. It's a great, and when you put yourself out, we all know, I'm not out there as much as him and Fenton, but me and Natalie are in a lot of stuff. And a lot of guys that work here, some of the other characters in the stuff we do, the small TikTok stuff on our page and Instagram videos are just guys I grab here. They're shipping. I'm like, hey, you got to come spray me with a fire extinguisher or whatever we're doing. We all know you put yourself out there, you're going to get it. You're out there. But to us, the positive remarks we get completely, it's not even close. They completely outweigh the negative ones. And even, it doesn't even have to be volumes of comments. If it's a guy and his kid and they watch our videos and they have that around our videos and laugh, worth it. 100% worth all the negative stuff,
You guys definitely had
that's the way we approach it.
You had the most kids at your booth at FDIC. Every time I walked by, there were kids there because of Fenton and Jason, which is just amazing. And, to speak to what they do and when you really know them, even when Jason was on the episode of the Size Up, it was for cancer detection because he works with Detect Together. And we had a whole thing about that. And you realize that he does so much more. And I think that's a big part of your company too, right? Is giving back. How you do
it's a huge part. Each one of us have our little passion projects that the success of the company allows us to delve into. It all comes from the success of the company. Jason speaks on mental health and wellness, on cancer prevention, and he doesn't go out there in the front and preach that, but he's very active in it. Yes. And will take the time to always support that stuff. We have a project going with Humanitarian aid truck that we just had from Rosenbauer built for us. I approached them a year ago at FDIC. It's been on my heart. We ship coffee all over the country to people that are reaching out. Sometimes it's fire departments that have a bad disaster or flooding, or in Florida last year, or a big wildfire. Guys, hey, can you send something? We'll just send it to them. Send it to the station for the guys. I said I've always wanted to do more. I would like to send hands and feet. I'd like to send something quantifiable to those guys to know we got their back. So I've been thinking about it for years. I asked Luke, would you let me run with this? And he's like, yeah. So we had a couple meetings on it, and I approached Rosenbauer, and they took it and said, you know what? I think we need to take a peek at this. And they called me 4 months later and said, hey, here's what we're going to do. We're going to build you out a truck. And we're going to put that equipment you want, commercial coffee brewers, refrigerators, a washer and dryer. So if those people are climbing out of their basements and all they have is the clothes on their back, not only can I give them clean clothes to get into, I can wash their clothes right there, hand them back to them, food, wireless hotspot. Our goal is to make this truck be the Wi-Fi for that community if they don't have power and don't have cable, lost their communication. I've got a 60 kilowatt generator around there. I can power a small town almost. A lot of other equipment, deployed logics, hooked me up with some portable shelters. I can pop out and in a minute have a shelter up to get people out of weather, get them dried off, towels, blankets, a lot of that simple stuff. So that was it's been on my heart. It's been something I've always wanted to do. That happens because of the company, Natalie, Fenton, everybody here.
Way more than a passion project is what you did, though.
Yeah,
to respond to disasters. A passion project is I sent some letters to someone. You went way beyond that.
Well, same thing. So many people have to come together. That doesn't just happen on somebody's idea. That's a whole line of things. People buying in and saying we want to support that. So kudos to everybody involved with that. It's too many people to list. But
so that's just at FDIC, but I didn't really get to see it because we were involved with some other stuff at that time. But Has it gone anywhere yet or no? Because I don't remember.
Well, we just local small stuff. I got to have some work. There's a couple things I need to get taken care of, and there's more equipment that's going on it. But people have asked me, well, how are you going to deploy this? And one of the agencies that I actually went and spoke with is because I'm so close to Chicago, is I went to the North Branch of Team Rubicon.
Okay.
And that's just, right in Chicago. So I drove in there, have a couple friends, acquaintances, now they're friends. And we sat down and said, look, I have this resource. I'm not going to try to rewrite disaster response, right? That's not, yeah. I brought some people together and this project happened. I want to offer it as a resource when you're deployed and you see that it fits. It's not going to fit everything, it's not going to fit a single family structure fire, and it's not going to fit the Canadian wildfires. It's going to fit some resource, some emergencies in here. Yep. Yeah. And when you see that is a resource you'll need, you call, and if it's available, I'm going to point it to you. So that was our initial talk, and we've talked since then, and they took it out to headquarters in LA, and LA liked the idea, and we're just going to see how it goes. My goal is to see this get supported so in such a big way, and that there's one all over the country, that there's one north, south, east, and west that can respond. I see it in rural areas that don't have the support that the cities do. It's storm season where I'm at.
Yeah.
And so we see a lot of small towns get decimated and they need some support, So.
Listen, we and I'm in a city on the Northeast, and during Hurricane Sandy, we needed all the help we could get from wherever we could get it, because it was like beyond any of our scopes that we ever thought of. We go through some storms, but then you have something that is just beyond your scope. And I feel like what you're saying with a smaller town, you have more of those opportunities, but you never know, During Hurricane Sandy, having a warm cup of coffee was happy. I was at that point when I got that finally.
Well, you've been there, and every first responder that listens to this has been there. We have everything we need to mitigate the emergency we're called to. We're the best trained. We have the best equipment in the world as firefighters in the United States. And then sometimes I'm at a scene and I do a 180 and I look behind me and I don't have a chair for an elderly lady who's soaking wet or a blanket to give her. I don't have a way to get her out of weather. I don't have something warm for her to drink. That person's holding two pets by the collar, and I don't have a leash. Their house is in the basement. I don't have a leash to hand them, and that's all stuff that's on this truck, stuff for pets. It's like, what's cool about it, as we delved into it and I reached out to a lot of people that work in emergency management, when people lose their basic needs, their needs stay basic. Their needs stay basic. It's on a really cool vessel that's delivering these simple things, but it's really just simple stuff that people need in that time, and sometimes we don't have it.
It's so amazing too, because as you spend your time in the fire service, and I'm right around you. I got hired in 2004. You start to see things more, and you start to see those basic needs, like getting someone that dog leash because they're holding their dog because they in the house, and you're like, I could send a guy in there. And so I ride on the car a lot now. My chief had surgery, so I ride on the car all the time, but I had a fire not too long ago, and early on in the fire, people were like, there's an elderly lady in the house next door. Should we get her out? And I was like, yeah, get her out. Just, it was early and it was just a good time to get her out. So, we go about doing our thing for however long I'm there. I couldn't even tell you, but it was probably only like 30 minutes later. We knocked down the fire and I start looking around and I'm like, where'd that old lady go? Like, I saw them getting her out of the house, but now I'm like, it's hot as anything outside. She could 100% go back in her house. And I'm like, where'd she go? And I'm like running around looking for the people that got her out. And I was like, hey, I was like, your abuela, because they were Hispanic. I'm like, your abuela, where'd she go? And they're like, oh, no, we brought her to my cousin's house. She's good. And I'm like, oh, she can totally come back now. But I forgot. Like, I had so many other things going on. But then I remembered again. And I'm like, I'm a dick. I forgot about that old lady. I should have tried to help her more.
But that's just what happens. We get, we're mitigating. And sometimes we don't have that, we just lose sight of some of that stuff. Yep. So
it's just
that's just what that project.
You see that coupling leaking, tighten up the coupling or pull it outside of the house because you're just adding more water, adding more damage that is unnecessary. A guest that I had on Pelican and said one time she saw a pack of diapers, so she threw the diaper around the coupling because they couldn't get it to stop leaking, just so it wouldn't ruin the floors. And I'm like, all right, that's a good one.
Yeah, that is a
I
good
was like,
one.
if you had the time, like, why not? Throw a diaper on there.
Absolutely.
Can't take it anymore. But those are such good things. And to know you guys have that truck and that project is just moving on, is even better.
Yeah, the customer service. It's funny because like I talked about customer service. I got 3 ladies out here that answer the phones and try to handle every problem through normal business. Sometimes we're successful at guys' problems. Sometimes we're not, but we'll try to make it better. But they're getting phone calls and requests. Hey, we saw the article about the truck. Can we, can you use more blankets? Is there stuff we can send? And it's like, I love that buy-in. Everything on that truck, other than Rosenbauer, Rosenbauer built that truck. I never signed a piece of paper. I may be the only one in the country who had a fire truck built. And to say this, I gotta say this the right way. What it was a commercial cab, a custom cab that they used in the factory to mount pumps on and do pump testing. So it was built. It's not. And the reason I say that is with lead times with apparatus right now, there's probably some towns that have been waiting for their truck
Yep.
Just to keep everything square, they built me out. It was a rolling chassis, so we built the cabinets the way I needed them for the equipment and wired it up with everything the way I needed it. But all the other equipment on that truck has been donated.
That's so
It's
awesome.
been donated.
It sounds like you're in more room. Like you need
when people start buying in like that, it makes them part of the project. And that was my goal. Let's make these partners part of this. Give them some buy-in, and see where we go with it.
Yeah, and it just keeps growing because you never know when you may need that in your community, and if you have the ability to pass it on, why not? And I know what I didn't know in the past was like how Illinois gets ravaged with storms sometimes. Like weather events.
Just recently, within the last 6 months or year, they've said Tornado Alley has kind of moved east and it comes kind of right up through Illinois now. And I've noticed that we've had Fairdale tornado was about 10 miles from where I live, from my house. There was a fatality there. We've had some Edwardsville, Illinois got blasted. So it's, I don't know, I'm living in Illinois in Tornado Alley. I didn't think that's what,
We're getting tornadoes in New Jersey and PA. I'm right on the border. Where I live is really close to the border of PA. And I think we've had 4 tornadoes in the past 3 years, like not Tornado Alley size, but enough that, houses, roofs came off.
Oh, yeah.
A whole block was hit with one of them. And if you told me again, you told that kid, a 25-year-old kid when I got hired, like, you may respond to a tornado. I'd be like, I don't live in Idaho, man. This is New Jersey.
What are you talking about? Kansas? I'm a long way from Kansas.
Long way from Kansas here in New Jersey. We don't have those. But having that ability to be prepared for everything is something we do. And it sounds like you guys have that same mantra. So it's awesome.
Just trying to throw everything on there that we can that somebody might need. It's just that humanitarian support, right? Where you just get there, and I'm not changing that incident with a blanket or a cup of coffee, but I'm laying a little bit of humanity on someone, trying to save their dignity and let them know we're here, people care about you. And it's not going to be just me driving all over the country. We're going to send this out and have, I don't know how this all works, but we have some guys ready to go. But just letting people know, hey, you're going to get through this. Yeah. You're not alone. And we'll let's get something started here.
It's such a great feeling. It's just like when, you have a big event and someone drops off food at the firehouse and you're like, you're doing the same thing, but in reverse.
Exactly. Right? That's exactly what it is, Pip. It's that same feeling, letting people know you ain't alone. You're not in this all by yourself.
And we've done that as well, where we've had the folks come into the firehouse because, it was cold where the fire was, and it's just an easy place to get to where we are. And then if someone's dropping off food, we're giving it to them and sharing with them. And it's that ball of like goodness is the easiest way to put it. That snowball of goodness. You just keep going in a bit. Yep. And like you said, you're not solving any of the problems. You're not mitigating any of the problems. You're just providing some help right then and there. And that's
Yep.
Well, listen,
I appreciate that.
This has been a great hour, and we can keep talking forever, like you said before. But I like to keep these around an hour because it seems like
absolutely
it's time and things, and we always can go again because I'm excited to do part 2s with some folks, and you're definitely on that list. But I got to wait a while because I can't just bring.
Yeah.
And
I'm not that exciting.
Next time we could bring everybody in, though. I feel like I could just. Like everybody wears a name tag, and I just call on like the Brady Bunch window. It would be like.
That'd be fun.
Because there's
probably get Jason
so
and
many
Fenn and Natalie in the mix.
Yeah,
it's a lot of fun when we get together.
Maybe Fenn, but not Jason. He's already been on the show.
I agree.
He's been twice because we did a workout together a while ago live. So he's got enough going on, man. We're good.
Yeah.
But what I do like to do is the size up 10, the 10 questions,
Right.
just to, see if I can't stump you or have some fun. We try to go rapid fire, but that never happens. It hasn't happened.
All right.
So we'll see where we're at. All right.
All right, bro. Hold on. Let me
Oh,
get my rally kit. All right.
for
I feel the pressure.
For the listeners in the car, Randy just turned his hat around, and it's like a switch. Now he's ready to go, just like Stallone said it over the top.
It's getting serious now.
That's
getting serious.
That's it. All right, here we go. Beach or mountains?
Beach.
A night out or a night in?
A night in.
Good book or a good movie?
Good movie.
Everybody likes the movies. Cross-country road trip. Who's your co-pilot?
My wife, Shreese.
Nice. That's always a good answer. Safe answer, I should say. Do you make your bed every day?
No, sir.
At least you're honest. $1 million or go back to 18 in Mr. Marshall's office with a redo.
Redo. Give me the redo.
You're taking the redo. All right. I like it. Highways or back roads?
Back roads.
Nice. Bucket list place to visit?
Australia.
I'm going next year. Going for
Are you really?
I believe we're trying. It's the plan. We're going for Christmas next year. I'll let you know how it is.
Yes.
Football or football?
Football.
Definitely football. Well, you did play, so I'll give you that one. All right, number 10. Best advice you could give to your younger self right now?
Oh. Be kind. Be kind to people always. Always be kind.
Love
you
it.
know.
Such a great message. Such a great message to finish on too, because it's just that simple, right? Just be kind.
It is. It is.
Be kind.
Yeah.
Doesn't always work.
Man.
I try.
No. Sometimes it's hard. Be kind even when it's hard. Even when it's hard.
I like that even better. So listen, Randy, this has been a great hour of podcasting. Can you tell the folks where they can find you, just in case they don't know where they can find Fire Department Coffee?
Yeah. Online. Well, we have a retailer finder on our website, but that's firedeptcoffee.com. You can see if we're in one of the retailers around you. And if we're not real close yet, you can order, but we're working real hard to be real close to everybody that's listening. So we appreciate, one last word, like if you are a customer or drink our coffee, we appreciate you so much. You're the most loyal customers. You allow all this to happen, all these things we got going, and you'll always be a big part of what we're doing. We appreciate you.
So great, man. You love the end user, right? And that's what makes your company, is the end user, because you make the good coffee, they keep using it and telling their friends and growing, and that's it.
Yep.
100%.
Yeah, we've been so blessed. That way. Pip, I want to thank you and what you guys are doing. It's good content. I learn a lot, a lot of great stories, and awesome. I know you're passionate about what you're doing, man. So appreciate you. You're doing good work. Awesome,
man. I'm glad we can do this. Next time we're definitely doing it in the morning, so I could be drinking coffee while we're doing it, and we can talk.
Absolutely.
We can even get into the cans. Oh, so much more to go with. All right, so as always, next one for the Size Up by National Fire Radio. This has been Pip, and we will catch you next time.
National Fire Radio.